forgive yourself and move on. If you like other men, that's not a problem. I think it's okay if you have a preference. Why, when we hear money, when we hear all this, that we are willing to some extent to just throw away, our dignity. Many times we make the excuse of not wanting to let go of these so-called married men in our lives because we feel like we are letting go of a financial thing. This is the Unspoken Podcast and I am your host, Christley. Every week I will bring you a hot, juicy, life-changing topic. So join me every Friday at 8 p.m. Links in your DMs. Make sure to follow me on Anchor, Google Podcasts, and Radio Republic. That is where you have access to the podcast. But hey, if you cannot access it on the app, make sure to go through it on the website. That is if you cannot access it on the app. Well, I will be waiting for your responses in the comments. Yes, links in your DMs, and do follow. So right now, let's go right into the episode. Welcome back to it. It is Unspoken Podcast. It is the Unspoken Podcast show, and I am your beautiful host, Christley. Yes, I am beautiful. Took a while for me to be able to say that confidently, but yes, here we are. And so this is practically the first time I've actually called myself beautiful. You won't believe it, but yeah, it is the truth. Okay, so it has been the world of the married, and I'm loving it. We're gonna have the 2 last episodes. From this one, we're gonna have like the last episode and just my last closing remark as we get into the new month. But yeah, that said, I do hope that you've had a great day or that you're having a good day, depending on what time you're listening to the episode. As for me, right now, as I record, I'm from work. Immediately after work, that's the time that I find most convenient for me to do my episode, because I just don't want to go back to my room, get comfortable, and then I'll forget or maybe get lazy or just discourage myself into doing something. So that's another tip. When you feel like doing something, there and then do it, because if you give yourself time not to do it and you procrastinate, you won't get it done. Getting right into the episode. I love today's episode because we are going to see what the wives have to say about side chicks. And in the last episode, we did hear what the side chicks had to say. In the previous episode, I get to talk about the fact that a married man can have young female friends, okay? But the fact of the matter is, should they or can they? That is if you've listened to the previous episode, all right? And in the previous episode before that, we did an episode where, we're talking about dating. I fell in love with a married man, and we heard a lot of stories, and we got to hear so many people out there are actually in love with married men. They're falling in love with married men. So many young people today are dating married men, and we got to hear from the side chicks themselves. Others are sugar babies, others are side chicks, and others are girlfriends. And so I just want to level down a difference, because there's a difference with a sugar baby, there's a difference with a side chick, and the side chick is the one who normally wants to take over, the man, who wants to date him for love. And a sugar baby is just really there to be spent on, and this is the truth. I love the fact that people are actually commenting, and I'm having positive criticism. Some of them is negative, but it is still criticism, and I appreciate all criticisms and all costs from all angles. And one thing that one person said is that you are encouraging prostitution by doing such episodes. And the good thing that I said was, thank you so much for actually even listening to the episode at the end of the day. Thanks. And I'm glad you have an opinion on this. However, I'm just telling you the reality of girls right now. And so whether or not you like it, it is happening. And then if we're not having people talk about these matters, then what are we doing at the end of the day? And if you want to be a person who wants to bring in impact, well, I want to be a person of relevance. I'm not seeking fame. I don't want to be famous. I don't want to be popular. I'd rather someone gets changed by a story or an experience. So that's why I want you to hear what Mutaz has to say about this.
Okay, so my name is Mutaz. I have been working with young people for a long time, from Radio Christian Voice, where I hosted the radio show New Generation, dealing with young people, to mentorship and church ministry. So I basically deal with young people, and dealing with young people dating married men is not a new topic for me. So as I say what I'm about to say, I want you to know that I am speaking from a place of love. I love you. You are my young sisters. I want you to do well. I want you to prosper. I want you to have good lives. I want you to succeed in your lives. I want you to build beautiful homes. I want you to have children of your own. I want you to have success stories. I want you to stand out. When people are talking about marriages that are failing, I want you to come up and say that marriages are succeeding, because your marriage will succeed. Having said that, it's important that we lay the best foundation. We lay good foundations for our lives. We should not be deceived. Everything that we are doing, these are seeds that we are planting in the soil. Some of it may not germinate now, some of it might take years, but trust me, the seeds that we are sowing would definitely come out. I always say that a married man is undateable. You cannot date a married man. A married man will come and tell you all sorts of things as a girl. They'll provide certain things for you that you feel that they love you. They'll give you money, but is that all? Are you going to sell your destiny at that price? I'm reminded of Jacob and Esau. Esau went to hunt on an empty stomach. Esau went to battle on an empty stomach, and he was able to sell his birthright for a bowl of soup. When we look at the present circumstances, we want to think it's what this married man is offering is good. We're not looking at the future. What you are doing every time you lay with that man is that you are selling away your future. Every time you lay with that man, a part of your future is being compromised. Every time you lay with that man, you are stealing from your own future. You are getting deposits from your future, treasures from your future, and throwing them to the pigs. I know people will come and say, no, but you see the circumstances that I'm going through, you need to put the value on yourself. Some of you will tell me that this married man has told me that he'll leave his wife for me. I want to see how many in history that you have seen that have left their wives for side chicks. I know there have been one or two, but how many, if we're looking at statistics, are going to do that? Most of them are just looking for a kinky situation. They are looking to, to fulfill their fetishes. They're looking to just, go out there and explore. For them, it's just that. It's just a moment of pleasure. I would want for you to value yourself enough to put a price on yourself. I would want for you to value yourself enough, to love yourself enough, and clothe yourself with dignity. Every time you undress before that married man, you are taking dignity away from yourself. Every time you choose to display your body and just, flaunt it anyhow, you are taking away dignity from yourself. Clothe yourself with dignity. Clothe yourself with integrity as a young person. Let no person have anything to say about you. Move in dignity. Because a lot of people are looking at me. I have market, I have this. I want you to really have a good perspective on your life. For me, the question that I like, this is something that I can say so many things about, But somehow I just feel I want you to focus on you. I can focus on the wife and what the wife does. I can focus on the foundations. I know Mrs. Gladys Banda will come through and talk about that. But I don't want to do that. I want to focus on you as a person. Love yourself enough to respect yourself. Love yourself enough to clothe yourself in dignity. Love yourself enough to protect your future. Every time you connect with this person, I will tell you that sex is an act of worship if it's done in the right confinement. So every time you pervert this act that's supposed to be a sacred act, you are invoking altars that can speak rightly so and break your destiny. This is not to scare you. I want you to understand what you are doing. You are invoking altars, connecting to foundations, for connecting to altars that you do not know of. You'll find that at some point you start acting like you have all these characters in you. You have all these funny things in you that you cannot even explain. You start seeing certain things that were going right start going wrong, or things just not working out, or the way things are supposed to go, things just stop working the way they're supposed to work, because you have connected yourselves to altars that you cannot break, and some of them you don't even realize what you're doing. Protect yourself, protect your future, protect your destiny. When you are looking for, I think looking for a partner should be another topic, Christley. We should probably look at this in I probably in your future podcast we could just target this specifically. But for me, my advice to you as a young person is focus on building yourself. Clothe yourself with dignity. Do not shortchange yourself. You are very valuable. If you look at your most precious pearls, your most precious, whatever it is that you own that's most precious, you don't just take it and throw it in dirt. You keep it well. You protect it. You are precious. You are so precious. You are so valuable. Why do you want to throw yourself to the pigs? Why do you want to throw yourself in dung? Why do you want to mess up your lives like this? You do not want to entangle yourself in all these things. What you want to do is create a future for yourself that is straight, a future for yourself that is beautiful. It is possible. In these times where people are, it's a normal thing to sleep around, stand out. It's the people that stand out that shake nations. If you look at people that cause revolutions, it's not the people that were going with the flow. It's not the people that were doing what everyone else was doing. It's the people that stand out. Now where people are losing their morals, where people just want to say anything and do anything, stand out. Be that person that cannot just go with anything. Be that person that chooses to clothe yourself with dignity. Be that person that chooses how. Be that person that knows I deserve to be loved and loved right. And be that person that's going to align themselves with the things that they deserve. And not just throwing themselves because everyone is having a sugar daddy. Everyone is doing this. Everyone is going with the flow. I encourage you to stand out in these times. The world of the marriage is a very complicated world. As a young person, this is not a world that you want to be venturing into. So many things are going on in there. You don't want to get yourself entangled in that situation. It might not end well. I remember a story, and I'm going to end with this. I remember a story of like if I gave any further details, people would know what it is I'm talking about. Okay, so I remember a certain story. That's as far as I'll go. Just for explanation purposes, I remember a certain story some years back, not so long ago actually, where this man, this woman was going out with this married man. This young girl was going out with a married man, and the wife found out. And the wife was actually very calm about it, called this girl and talked to her. And the girl, I don't even understand what I This is a real story. I'm not even making this up. The woman was like, no, 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 don't worry. Let's, this is our man and whatnot. And that's how they started living life. And if the man is not available, she would even call the wife, no, I haven't seen him. He's like, he hasn't seen you. Let me call him. I'll encourage him to come and see you and whatnot. And somehow the girl thought that was okay until she started having a smell that could not be contained. She was smelling, no doctor, no witch doctor, no medical could to do anything about it. And think she went to Western Province where this doctor, this native doctor told her, the woman that you touched, the things that she's done, the altars that she's made, even I, as powerful as I am, I can't do anything about it. That's sadly how that girl ended up. She had a smell that could not be contained. Things started coming out of her. Your story might not be as devastating or as drastic as that girl's story, but trust me, every time you do that, there are certain things that are being destroyed, and some of them might be visible, others might not be visible, but there's something that is being done. A future that is being broken, a future that is being destroyed. It is your future, and I hope that you will be concerned about your future enough to protect it.
Well, that is what Mutaz has to say about this. And I love the fact that she is so open-minded about this. And I love the fact that she is so concerned about us young people. And really, she brings out the reality and the truth. Many times we make the excuse of not wanting to let go of these so-called married men in our lives because we feel like we are letting go of a financial thing. You understand what I mean? You're letting go of a finance. How will I be financed if I let go of this married man? And that is the reality that we are facing as females. Like, this is a man who has financed my school. This is a man who has financed my grocery. This is a man who has financed, my everything that there is to me. He sends me the money. He sends me the what. And most of the time in our heads as young people, what we are thinking is it will just take seconds. It will just take 1 minute. Old men or married men never last in bed. It's just gonna be 2 minutes. 2 minutes, Nish Kwasida. You understand what I mean? And he's down and we sleep. And at the end of the day, we move on. At least I got my money, and probably you got a 2,000 out of that. Probably you got a 5,000 out of that. Probably you got even a 10. With people who are getting 20,000 out of that. And so it's probably good in the moment. And I love the fact that she pointed out to say, in the moment, yes, it's good, but this comes with repercussions. And I do hope that even as you listen to this as a young person, you're probably listening to this and you are in the very situation. And so for me, I've made this episode for you who is in that situation. It doesn't matter what everybody else thinks of you, and it also just doesn't matter what you think of yourself. Because at the end of the first step, I think, is that you need to forgive yourself. But before I go into talking about you forgiving yourself, especially if you are or have been in the past or currently you are in that situation, I would like to bring on Mrs. Gladys. And I'm really glad they were really open about their identities. It wasn't really a big deal. So I am honored to actually say their names out loud. So Mrs. Gladys is I brought in 3 generations. So Taz is from her own generation, and I brought in Mrs. Gladys, who is from an older generation. And this is what she has to say about Sidechicks.
When we say 2 people are married, a man and his wife, when we say this is a marriage, we are talking of different foundations. We are talking of an institution that has many bonds, many covenants, many procedures that are holding it together for it to be called a marriage. It's these same procedures that will see this marriage through. First of all, culturally speaking, you as a woman, you take this man to your family, that this is a man that wants to marry me. There are procedures like they bring the plates, they are charged, they pay lobola for you. There's filangamlilo, there's matebeto, there's amafunde, and everything. The counseling and everything to hold up that marriage. Different marriages have been secured in different ways. Some marriages are protected with tradition, even medicine, if that's what they believe in, just to ensure that this marriage, no one will tamper with it. Some marriages are based on the word of God. The Zambia is known to be a Christian nation. So even when it comes to the law of the land concerning marriage is based on the word of God. The word says, whatever God has joined together, let no man put asunder. There are many songs, many, enchantments that are put on a marriage for it to stand. And above all, a marriage will have children. Children are also part of the bond of that marriage. And that marriage, for it to stand, all these bonds, all these procedures, the covenants are there. Now here is a young lady. You come in this marriage as an intruder or the third party or a side chick, whatever you may be called. You say yes to a married man. Know that you are violating these bonds, whatever is holding up this marriage. You don't know the people that you're dealing with. You don't know the culture that you're dealing with, the roots that you're dealing with. Hence, you find yourself fighting battles that you do not know. We have heard lately whereby someone is sleeping with a married man and they are stuck. They were doing it in the confines of the lodges, but then they are exposed because they are looking for help, for someone to separate them. There are so many things that you are fighting with whenever you enter into a covenant that you were not even there when it was created. You may have the reason to say, I am the one who is supplementing the wife's efforts. You may come up, you may think you are sweeter than the wife, but you will bear severe consequences. Dating a married man is a serious it has serious consequences. You find yourself dealing with things that you never thought, diseases that even medical cannot sort out, So hence, it's not fun to date a married man. It can be fun for now, but you'll be dealing with severe consequences, deadly consequences. Many have died prematurely just because of dating married men. Even talk of Christianity, Christian wives, they pray for their husbands and they pray dangerous prayers that you will find yourself having sicknesses, having all sorts of troubles and curses.
As adults, we all know our mothers and we all know how our adults, get to speak. Seeing the fact that she's from an older generation, you can see how she's coming out and the things that she's saying and all the pointers that are coming out. She brought up a lot of the spiritual aspect, and I like her introduction. Her introduction started with, she broke down what exactly a marriage is and just the implications. And these are things that we young people, I think, overlook. I feel like that's something that you and I probably overlook, especially in navigating the extent as to how important a marriage setup is, and I'm pretty sure you listened to my previous episode, which was married men can have young female friends. And that's what I say based on my reality. I'm like, I don't have a problem with hanging out with married men, but after listening to their insight, after listening to what they have to say, I began to question myself and say, okay, what is this something that I should be doing or tolerating? Because at the end of the day, let's not forget, as young women, that, like Azam Taz said, we are planting seeds, and these seeds will grow. And to some extent, the more we tolerate it, the more we don't draw boundaries, the more we accept it, the more we make it look normal, like we've done, like, okay, let's not lie, we've made it normal. You know what I mean? I don't want to make it normal, but I also don't want us to move away from the fact that this is what is happening. Okay, so for me, I'm not going to move away from the fact that this is what is happening, and also I'm not going to move away from the fact that so many of us are or have been in such situations. And every day as women, I just want you to know, if you're a guy and listening to this, we as women face a lot every day. We have to face rejecting a man. We have to face we have to face a lot. And sometimes I think, why we just tend to throw in the towel and be like, oh, well, it doesn't matter, he's married, it doesn't matter, is also our life situation sometimes. And I know Mtaz talked about, sometimes, yes, you may blame it on your circumstances, this, that, but that's not an excuse. And I highly agree. We cannot use that as an excuse. However, I'm really for, and I understand what someone who comes up with something and says, but you don't understand my situation, and this is why I do this or do that. I do not completely remove myself from that person's mind. And I think the question really should be, what can we do as young people, as young women, to help ourselves probably change our mentality? I don't know, because we've allowed society to, or rather the society of Zambia, to make us think that we should, at the end of the day, bow to our circumstance and what we have to do to change it. And what I mean is, if a married man is offering, he says, look, I want this, I want that, and I'm gonna get you a flat, I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do that. And if you come from a background that's really not helping your financial situation, and I think the main root or the root cause to all this is financial lack. And that is something I think I want to talk about in this next month. Why are so many girls broke? Why are we rather broke? And why do we like to be spent on as females? Why do we like money, in short? I don't know if that came out right, but I'm trying to understand. If you can help me understand, I'll really appreciate it. But I just want to understand why, are we so broke? And why when we hear money, when we hear all this, that we are willing to some extent to just throw away, our dignity. And the fact of the matter is, showing or availing your nakedness to a married man is throwing away your dignity. And so that brings me, and that is the truth, guys, that is the truth. I'm not going to lie to you or anything. If you've been in that situation and you are in that situation, we are throwing away our dignities. And so bringing me back to the point that I talked about, forgiveness. Maybe you're failing to move on, and you look at yourself a certain way. Probably in the past you've had sex with a married man for money, or you have been involved with a married man and you don't know how to move on from that. You don't see yourself the same way. you look at yourself a certain way, you think of yourself a certain way. I struggled with this the past year, and it made me think of myself less of who I actually really am inside. So I just want to close on this note that forgive yourself. If you have been in love with a married man and you're so upset with yourself, or you view yourself another way, forgive yourself and move on. If you like other men, that's not a problem. I think it's okay if you have a preference, with older men, but at least find a single older guy. If you're 20 and you like a man who's 30, make sure he's single, you know what I mean, and go into a relationship with him. But that is something that I'm going to talk about or bring up as another topic. But on this one, I'm just closing on forgiveness. And I just want you to forgive yourself with everything you have. Look at yourself in the mirror and love what you see, because I know, sometimes it can be really disgusting, especially if you're just doing it for the money, especially if you're just doing it to get something like, oh God, I hope this man gives me the money. I was watching a video of a girl who was so exposed innocently, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, she knew, but probably she just wanted money, and the fact is we're vulnerable to money. And that's why next month we're talking about this. We are talking with it, and I'm going to bring a financial expert. She's a married woman. I'm going to bring her on. I'm not going to say who it is, but I'm going to bring her on to say her part of the bargain. But yes, my sis, let's improve ourselves. And let's forgive ourselves for what we've done in the past, and let's move on. I know sometimes these people, these married men, come off as fathers. We see them as fathers, and I think for me, that is what really, I saw them as a father, because I've never really had a father figure in my life. So when a married older man comes to me and he's treating me a certain way, he's treating me, quote unquote, what I would interpret as a father figure. Okay, and that's another topic that we're gonna address later on. But for today, I close on this note. Forgive yourself and love yourself and move on. Okay. Don't feel bad about yourself. Don't feel ashamed and be like, oh no, I had sex with a married man. It's okay. It's not okay to have sex with a married man. That is a fact, as we've heard from our 2 married wives. Okay, and they've told us everything, and I think that one is enough wisdom. But what I'm saying is, don't look at yourself to be disgusting. That's what I'm saying. So until next time. Oh, and next time is going to be also another special episode. We're going to hear it from the husbands themselves. I'm going to bring 3 husbands, and yes, we're going to hear from them. But otherwise, it's goodbye, and until next Friday, see you later.